Feds arrest founder of Bitcoin Mixer. They say laundered $335 million over 10 years. Bitcoin fog let clients obscure the origins of their transactions, according to the Department of Justice. They arrested a Russian Swedish national who allegedly operated the long running cryptocurrency laundering or mixing website. The DOJ has certainly ended all money laundering and Bitcoin mixing, an incredibly successful operation for the DOJ. Is that correct, Travis? Have they ended all cryptocurrency mixing?
I wouldn't go as far to say all. Actually, what struck me as interesting was they said it was $335 million over 10 years, and that's definitely a lot of money. But like Bitcoin traded like $55 billion in volume the last 24 hours alone. It's such a small part of the Bitcoin ecosystem. I know, like back in the day, Silk Road was definitely a major use case, and there was nothing wrong with that as a use case. But it's such a small part of the ecosystem now.
Dan, Eve.
I think it's does it, you know, what's the impact? I'm interested in what the impact's going to be on other kind of coin join mixing operations, because it sounds like this was specifically sold as, you know, it had links to Silk Road, and it was kind of sold along the lines of the service was, you know, for nefarious purposes specifically, rather than just like protecting your privacy. But it'd be interesting to see how that kind of affects things. I think Travis made a really good point about the fact that the article even said 300 something million, but it wasn't adjusted for the price over the appreciation over the years. And so, but that's just still such a minuscule amount compared to, you think of 11 years of Bitcoin trading, how much actual volume there has been, and how much of a kind of absolute minute drop in the ocean that the money that went through that you know, amounted to. What's interesting is that I shouldn't laugh, but sadly, it sounds like the way he got caught was from right at the start setting up. So the server cost, which he, you know, got from Mt. Gox, and then shifted BTC for a few addresses, Liberty Reserve, and then eventually Liberty Reserve into bought the domain and server. And so the feds, or what, the IRS scraped his details from Mt. Gox and Google accounts, and it even had like a guide on there, like saying, here's how to do really shady stuff with Bitcoin and make sure that you're, you know, discreet. But it goes back to the old school kind of myth that Bitcoin is completely anonymous and untraceable. You know, it's kind of, whilst that sounds amazing, you know, anyone who's in Bitcoin knows that it's pseudonymous. You know, that there's only privacy to a certain extent. So, you know, that's why these coin join services are actually quite useful. And that whilst, you know, Bitcoin companies can be who contain, you know, hold data, they can go, you know, they can pop up and disappear, and that data can disappear. The data on the blockchain it's there infinitely. You know, it will be there for until the end of time. So yeah, I think that what's also I think is quite cool, and I've been pronouncing saying it, is Akimashite Omodoto is the guy's name. So that was his pseudonym, which means Happy New Year, but only after the new year, apparently. So yeah, you know, like coin joins, I'm all for coin joins. Hopefully this won't have you know, the Pink Panthers like Chainalysis and, you know, hooking up with the IRS to take down all sorts of operations that help you be private with your funds as you would like to be, for non-nefarious purposes.
If only there was a Bitcoin mixer to protect the guy who made the Bitcoin mixer. Okama GameSphere, Josh Segala.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about the whole coin join and mixing and fungibility topic is that it's not about the nefarious people trying to hide their cash. It's about the normal person that's got some Bitcoin that all of a sudden needs to check if that's been in a nefarious transaction 2 or 3 transactions ago. Otherwise, they could be held liable for transacting in something. This is where you get breaks. This is where you get friction, and currencies cannot have friction. Otherwise, they just the frictionless version comes out and becomes more popular. People go where there's no friction, especially in currency. And so, yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens in terms of where the dark market's already heading towards Monero and stuff like that on the deep web. People are very suspicious of Bitcoin. A lot of the transactions are still in Bitcoin, but yeah, I definitely think that one of the big things we need to take seriously in the space is not to be talked into the fact that fungibility or privacy is something that only nefarious people need. It is really, really, really important in money because, for instance, if everyone knows how much money you have, you open yourself up to kidnapping, you open yourself up to a whole lot of really dangerous situations. There's also business reasons. If you buy your stock and then someone pays you in for that at your store, they can actually trace that transaction and see who your supplier is and then cut you out and go straight to the supplier. Whether that's good or bad, it doesn't matter. What matters is that that sucks for you. It also makes it politically very hard whether you believe that everyone should know what each of your employees is being paid. It's up to you. But if people can just check that, it can cause also a lot of grief and anguish, and there might be some reasons you pay different people differently. So fungibility and privacy in money, it's a funny one because people will say like, oh, only really dangerous criminals want privacy and money. And you think, well, okay, then you should show everyone on Facebook your bank accounts and exactly what you spend everywhere. Go for it, do it. But they don't. Of course they don't, because they really know when it's up to the time to do it, that they don't want to do it. And there's a reason why, because people want that inherent privacy. It is a little bit trickier. Like Dan said, it's pseudonymous, and so it is a little bit trickier. It's not truly just open for anyone, but anyone that wants to can definitely trace and track transactions. So I think this is like a little wake up call for the Bitcoin community to have another, keep pushing towards Taproot and some of the other things that are coming. But also, I feel like Lightning and Layer 2 solutions are a good way to make Bitcoin more fungible, even though I know there are ways of tracing certain transactions through the Lightning Network. It does add an extra layer of obfuscation to privacy for all those reasons that are important that I just mentioned. And yeah, so don't get fooled into thinking, and please stop repeating this nonsense that it's only for criminals, that privacy and money. It's not. It's for everybody, and privacy is sacred.